Of food sold to the public on continued reports that pickers at the Riverton waste disposal site in St. Andrew are scavenging and selling spoiled meat to unsuspecting consumers.
We have a response from the Executive Director, the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, on the matter. TVJ's Anthony Lugg has been tracking that story.
Here at the Riverton disposal site is where it said rejected meat is being scavenged and then sold to vendors at a very low cost. But Executive Director at the NSWMA, Audley Gordon, says that's impossible. Bags of chicken feet, chicken legs and liver swarmed by flies. These insects are seeking a meal, but these meat, which has long passed the expiration date, often make its way back to the market despite being dumped at the Riverton disposal site in St. Andrew. The meat looks filthy, but we were told that when the pickers at the dump clean them, consumers can't tell they were spoiled or dumped. It's believed the meat is sold back to consumers around Kingston. But Executive Director at the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, Audley Gordon, says that's not so. Mr. Gordon argues that a strict protocol is followed to deal with spoiled meat that has been disposed at the dump. He says the meat is denatured and buried.
It is near impossible, even if somebody should breach our security and go and like excavate or exhume those meat. It could not be sold. It just could not be, because nobody would buy that.
So could some slip through?
There is no lag. It is not stopped. We don't have a refrigerator there. We don't have that stored in. It just comes straight to burial. We are not responsible for meat that may have been destined to the landfill but was diverted elsewhere, because there are unscrupulous merchants out there, unscrupulous business people out there who may not want to go the proper route of notifying Ministry of Health, notifying the NSWMA, notifying the police, etc., and all the expenses that may be involved in the process. And they may choose to divert to some inferior unlawful practices.
Recently, the police arrested these perpetrators after they were found loading a large amount of spoiled chicken into this vehicle destined for sale. But while that arrest might have been made, we're being told that the sale of spoiled meat is big business.
This will require a multi-agency approach, including the police and maybe the army, because there are people who are not going the official route of disposing of expired products, spoiled products, meats, and all that. And the truth is, there is a market.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has shied away from stating whether he wants buggery to be decriminalized in Jamaica. The Prime Minister indicated on Monday that he doesn't have a problem with homosexuals serving in his cabinet. This was Mr. Holness speaking on Good Morning Britain earlier today.
Would you like personally, as the Prime Minister, to see it decriminalised?
What I would like to see is the process being further opened to bring more people into the discussion. It is a very sensitive issue, but my job as a Prime Minister is to ensure that the human rights of every single person within the country is protected and that the constitutional rights are guaranteed.
It's hard.
He adds that the view on buggery in Jamaica is evolving and the country must be given time to settle the matter. A challenge to Jamaica's buggery law is currently before the court. Courts in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as Belize, have ruled that the buggery law is unconstitutional in their countries.
In the meantime, Mr. Holness is insisting that the Windrush generation, negatively affected by immigration decisions made by the British government, should be compensated.
We have to call it out for what it is, but we also have to ensure that those who have been deported, that they get access to a process that gets them back, that they get their citizenship, that they get their full rights, and that they get access to the benefits that their citizenship would entitle them.
The Prime Minister described the situation as a disgrace after news surfaced that the British Home Office destroyed some documents which could have verified the status of Caribbean nationals affected by the scandal.
This is a complete and utter disgrace, isn't it? I mean, let's just not sugarcoat this.
It is, especially the new revelation about the destruction of documentary evidence, which could easily help to resolve some of the issues. But I prefer to look at the positive side of it.
What is the positive side of it?
The government reacted and apologized and has put in place or are putting in place measures.
The Windrush generation are Caribbean nationals who went to Britain to help rebuild that country after World War II. The first to arrive in 1948 did so on the ship Empire Windrush. Commonwealth citizens living in the UK were initially allowed to stay in that country, but changes to British laws required them to prove their status. With some being unable to do so, many have lost their jobs and are being classified as illegal immigrants who may face the risk of deportation.
We turn the spotlight now on Sherwood Content in Trelawney, where last week an angry policeman levelled a cursing spree at a justice of the peace. The policeman has since been suspended. In a Primetime News exclusive, the JP at the centre of the verbal attack is speaking out this evening. TVJ's Janella Precious has this Primetime News follow-up.
Sherwood Content, Trelawney, home of the world's fastest man, Usain Bolt. The community gained new prominence following a viral video last week of a policeman behaving badly. This is the Justice of the Peace who the expletives were leveled at. He told TVJ News that on the evening in question, a Labor Day planning meeting was in progress. Community members gathered in this spot when, according to him, a speeding police vehicle drove past.
I went to the driver and said, "Officer, when you're coming through this community, you need to slow down." The other officer that was sitting on the passenger side then said to me, "Why you say, boy?" So I went around to the passengers. I walked from the driver to the back. And when I got round to the front, I repeated myself. So when you're coming through this community, you need to slow down because I have senior citizens and children on the road.
And that's what sparked the policeman's expletive-laced rant, where he also spoke down to the lay magistrate, calling him a JT, and even as community members threatened to call the commissioner.
Commissioner. Over the years, I've never seen any policeman behave in that fashion. It's very disappointing to me because earlier we had policemen here and we had a very good constructive meeting.
The policeman's words may have hurt at the time, but the JP says he's moved on.
And as a Christian, I have to forgive him. So I forgave him. Yesterday I was in Falmouth and one of his friends came to me and said, "Mr. Taita, my friend told me what happened and he's very sorry."
Over the weekend, the police high command reported that the policeman has been suspended.
He must be disciplined, no question about it. But I'd ask that justice must be done, but tingle mercy with justice.
Janella Precious, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, an apology has come from the commanding officer for the Trelawney Police Division, Superintendent Dwight Powell.
The incident has brought real dishonor to the organization that is in the business of repairing our image in Jamaica. The incident is one that I personally, as a commanding officer, do not condone, and I just want to tell you from where we are standing this evening that the Inspectorate of Constabulary is carrying out an investigation. And so the action that have been taken so far in this incident was very decisive. So just want to report to you that the member is presently suspended from pay and duty. And it is being treated with the utmost urgency to bring the matter to a conclusion. So on behalf of the Commissioner of Police, on behalf of the entire Trelawney Division, I personally want to say how sorry we are for this incident.
A top story today, spoilt meat for sale. Renewed concerns about spoilt meat from Riverton City Dump making its way to the commercial market. And still to come, panic in Westmoreland as
evacuate Cornwall Regional Hospital when a recommendation was made to do so more than a year ago. The PNP made the call at a press conference in Montego Bay St. James yesterday following a tour of the hospital. TVJ's Vashon Brown has more.
A tour of the Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James on Tuesday by the People's National Party, led by Party President Dr. Peter Phillips. The team got a surprise when Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton turned up for the tour. Dr. Phillips says he did not expect to see the minister, but he was present.
Offered to carry us and show us the hospital, and we appreciate the kind offer that was made to share thoughts and information about the hospital.
I welcome the tour because I felt it was important for us to demonstrate, in the first instance, hopefully, some unity of purpose as it relates to Cornwall Regional and the need to rehabilitate the facility. Secondly, to give the opposition an opportunity to see for themselves what is happening and to inquire and to ask any questions that they want to ask, because frankly speaking, we have approached this process in a very transparent way.
The first thing that he needs to do is to share the work plan with us so we can know where exactly he is, what are the plans going forward, so we can make an input in it. I've said before that in order for us to have consensus, there has to be consultation. I'm not just talking about coming on a tour for the photos and the media. I'm talking about genuine sharing of the information so the opposition can be in an informed position to make a worthwhile contribution to how we move forward.
Following the tour, the PNP called a press conference where it again took issue with what it called the delay in evacuating the hospital. Dr. Phillips says the delay has caused more and more people to get sick, some with very serious complaints. As the PNP sees it, there are two issues to contend with. One, who will be held accountable for not evacuating Cornwall over a year ago? It's a matter Dr. Phillips says the Prime Minister must address. The second issue, according to Dr. Phillips, is that the extent of the problem at Cornwall is still not known.
I think at minimum, what we need is an independent public inquiry.
He says the membership of the Board of Inquiry should come from recommendations of the Medical Association of Jamaica, the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, the Nurses Association of Jamaica, as well as the tertiary institutions.
This inquiry should be charged to inquire into the circumstances surrounding the decision not to evacuate the hospital when the recommendation was made.
Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
In the meantime, Attorney General Marlene Malahoo Fort has responded to the threats of legal action by workers affected by noxious fumes at the hospital. The Nurses Association of Jamaica and the Jamaica Workers Union have indicated they are contemplating suing the government on behalf of their members. TVJ News understands that members of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association are also agitating for the group to take legal action. Speaking with our news centre today, Mrs. Malahoo Fort says the government can only wait to see what the groups will do.
Well, it's hard to respond to a threat. Persons have rights, and if they choose to exercise those rights, then we will just have to respond in due course.
Question whether Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton had sought legal advice on the possible exposure of the government when he decided not to close a hospital a year ago. Mrs. Malahoo Fort would only say all matters are discussed by Cabinet. She would not disclose what, if any, legal advice she gave to Dr. Tufton and the Health Ministry at that time.
I can't now recall what specific advice, but please note that as Attorney General, when I give advice, that advice is protected by legal professional privilege, and it wouldn't be for me as the attorney to speak to what advice has been given.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes is this evening warning those in the court system that adjournments will be a thing of the past.
The matter is set down for Monday. It will be tried on the Monday. The argument that it is only the first trial date, as if to say that in and of itself is a reason for an adjournment, is going to become a thing of the past. So when it is set down for hearing, it is set down for hearing. And barring very extraordinary events, the matters won't be adjourned. So that is.
Mr. Sykes reiterated that judges should submit their judgments in 6 months for civil cases.
Certainly with respect of divorces, I have already said that that should be 12 weeks, 12 to 16 weeks, and we are putting in place the measures to accomplish that. Certainly for probate and letters of administration, 12 to 16 weeks, we are putting in the measures to accomplish that.
The Chief Justice was speaking this morning at a ceremony to officially open 2 additional courtrooms in the Supreme Court. They'll be used to facilitate the gun court. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck said $35 million was spent on the courtrooms and to restore elevators.
From cane to concrete now. The government recently outlined a major housing and commercial development plan for lands which were once used for sugarcane production at Bernard Lodge in St. Catherine. There are concerns that the administration made the announcement without the requisite consultation. Despite the criticism the development has started, Janella Precious has been digging deeper and filed this report.
It's been almost 4 years since smoke came from this chimney. King Sugar lost its reign at Bernard Lodge Sugar Factory in 2014. Following years of massive losses, operators of the facility, Pan Caribbean Sugar Company, called it quits. The area, which was once bustling with activity, now resembles a ghost town. The trucks which drive through sections of Bernard Lodge now carry marl. For some of the men who toiled the fields most of their life, funds from the 2014 redundancy exercise have dried up, while new employment opportunities are hard to come by.
Well, just go around and do any good thing we get to do, because we don't really have nothing strong to do right now.
Tell you what, why so much crime? Want more work.
The area is up for a major facelift. It has been declared the new town by Prime Minister Andrew Holness. In his budget presentation last month, Mr. Holness revealed the plan for 17,000 housing solutions.
It allows for residential, commercial, light industrial, but importantly, agricultural use.
The government has not released the details relating to how the lands will be developed for agriculture, but stakeholders in the sector are expressing concern.
We want more of these lands that has irrigation infrastructure that can give you economies of scale, to be brought into production, get the funding going, so that we can lead the country as it relates to food security.
We are talking about some of the finest agricultural lands in any part of the country. If you spit in the Bernard Lodge area, it will grow.
But what's certain is that houses have started to go up. The first of a 5-phase housing development being undertaken by Gore is scheduled to be completed by the end of this year. Checks by our new center revealed that the units are already sold out. When asked, the Portmore mayor said he was aware of that development. But what appears to have come as a total surprise to the political directorate in Portmore is the master plan outlined by Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
A number of developers for made different things, houses, among other things, have been committed to purchase lands in Bernard Lodge. And the government have proceeded to do that with the total exclusion of the Portmore community.
There are concerns that Kingston may be running out of space to build houses. Developers have over the years concentrated on St. Catherine. Portmore has become one of the preferred options. Mayor Leon Thomas insists the municipality is not biting more than it can chew.
We are working with our development plan. So the development plan will guide us to say we have certain amount of spaces for industry, right, and certain amount of spaces for housing development. We have nearly 2,000 houses coming on stream just down the road from here, and we have another 300 in Elshaw, right? And this is something that we have to look at.
If all goes to plan in the next 5 years, where cane lands once flourished, scores of Jamaicans will get to call it home sweet home, bringing an end to an almost 100-year-old sugarcane legacy. Reporting from Bernard Lodge in St. Catherine, I'm Janella Precious for TVJ News.
Panic is growing in Westmoreland as the parish seems to be recording runaway murder figures so far this year. The latest crime figures show a 12% increase in murders. Now, members of parliament, councillors and residents are pleading for a state of emergency in that parish. TVJ's Herman Green has that story.
Candlelight vigils remembering the dead, an almost weekly event in communities across Westmoreland. It's indicative of the crime figures the police have released and what residents are experiencing.
Pure murder.
Between January 1 and April 14, Westmoreland recorded 47 murders. It is 12% higher than the number of murders over the same period last year and the highest murder count in rural Jamaica. Notably, St. James, which had the highest number of murders last year, recorded 25 murders since the start of 2018. The comparable figure during the same period last year was 78. Seeing the dip in murders in St. James, residents, councillors and MPs in Westmoreland are now calling for crime-fighting measures implemented in their neighbouring parish to be rolled out in their parish as well.
I welcome Zozo right now. We need Zozo here in Westmoreland.
For the Zozo and the state of emergency, it has been working in some areas. Because the fact of the matter is, when you have specialized operations in certain areas, it's natural that crime will go down because it's either that the violence producers are moved out of the area or they are suppressed because they can't carry out certain activities while the armed forces are involved.
Murders have been recorded almost every week for the past 2 months. The victims include students.
This is the generation of viper. We can't commit evil. Because them is a wicked.
Crime has affected 90% of the business in Grangeville. The business people are suffering. The hotel workers are suffering. The youths are suffering.
I'm tired of the violence. It has reached our address at 4 Louis Street. I am tired of the violence. Our young people are dying and we need to do something right now about it.
With successes reflected so far, everyone has now joined the plea for the government to bring those measures their way.
The fact of the matter is, in these operations, there's a sustained part of it also that leads to community development. And most communities in the area that the crime is happening need certain social and infrastructural development also. So that is the certain reason why we're calling for these type of initiatives.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
The tsunami alerts following a 7.6 magnitude underwater earthquake off the coast of Honduras in January this year sent residents of Old Harbour Bay in St. Catherine scampering for safety, even though it was a false alarm. But amidst the evacuation of that seaside town, questions were raised about Jamaica's preparedness for a tsunami. This evening, TVJ's Krista Campbell explores that issue in the first of a 3-part primetime news feature.
When people hear of a tsunami, we think of countries far from Jamaica, like Indonesia and Japan. But the disaster can be much less severe and more common than we think. Geologist Dr. Paris Liawai Jr., who heads the Mona Geoinformatics Institute, has done extensive work on tsunamis.
A tsunami is any displacement of water as a result of a seismic event. We had a tsunami in 1692 Port Royal earthquake. We had a tsunami in the 1907 earthquake as well. All of these were displacements of water. It just did not result in the mega tsunamis that you're thinking of.
Going back to the night of Tuesday, January 9, 2018, a powerful magnitude 7.8 earthquake off the coast of Honduras triggered alerts over 1,000 kilometers away here in Jamaica.
As far as seaside towns go, Old Harbour Bay in St. Catherine has seen its share of threats from past storms and hurricanes. So the people here say when news of a possible tsunami started spreading, they were taking no chances.
When we get a good rainfall, when they go down to Bay Bottom and stuff like that, the water overflow the little gullies that they have. So this tsunami business, serious business.
By early Wednesday, January 10, news of a mass exodus in Old Harbour Bay. Amid the ensuing confusion, residents point to deficiencies in the area's tsunami alert system.
No bus no come for nobody or nothing, so you have to use your foot that night there. And run till you're tired, and if you want to faint.
A lot of people block the road, not even bicycle couldn't pass, running from Bay to Old Harbour. Can they run to save themselves from a tsunami from Bay to Wallaba? Can they? No way. It needs something else, man. It needs preparation for that. I think the government should make a building, a high-rising building, which can contain even 1,000 people in disaster time.
The population of people from down here, we are going to the town, I don't believe the sidewalk could have hold them. Them not going to need the road, and the road already packed with the cars, them.
In the event of an evacuation, this is the main route of escape residents of Old Harbour Bay would have to take. But how equipped is the roadway to handle the volume of traffic expected in an evacuation? And just how safe is it? The residents point to the lack of sidewalks at some sections of the roadway.
Work has since been done to fix 2 alternative routes in Old Harbour Bay, but residents are still concerned about the lack of a tsunami evacuation plan, particularly in relation to transportation.
I'm going to buy some planes can go up in the sky and all the way that they can see the people in the fishing villages.
I was fortunate to be in a couple of places in Southeast Asia, and you could see tsunami evacuation route signs on the main roads and inside buildings, even on the 15th floor.
We have been talking about putting in a tsunami alert system, and I'm aware that the government is also working on a national system to warn people if a tsunami should be occurring.
Until such plans materialize, residents of other coastal towns across the island are calling for public education on tsunamis. More in part 2 of this primetime news feature. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
A doctor is this evening advising women to check their breasts for any abnormality at least once per month. Consultant oncologist Dr. Dingle Spence says this is important as it could be something as serious as breast cancer. TVJ Shamela Mitchell reports.
Health Report is brought to you by
Good Care OptiPro 3 has the quality and quantity of proteins to help your baby build a strong foundation for future health.
Breast cancer is when a woman gets a malignant tumor in her breast. A malignant tumor is when abnormal growth of cells form a lump in the breast. Consultant oncologist Dr. Dingle Spence says breast cancer is the most common type of cancer that affects women.
Difference between a cancerous lump and a benign cyst is that if that cancer remains untreated, it's likely to send seedlings first to the armpit and then possibly to other organs of the body. The lungs, the liver, the bone, the brain are the most common. And once it's spread from the breast to anywhere else, it becomes very difficult to cure it.
Dr. Spence says a woman's chances of getting breast cancer increases with age. Also, if the woman has a mother, sister, or close relative with the cancer, she's also at greater risk.
We now know that obesity, being overweight, having an unhealthy lifestyle, eating lots of processed foods, low vegetable intake, high sugar intake, being physically inactive. We also know that taking the birth control pill for many, many years without a break can cause a risk. We know that having your first child later in life, unfortunately, also confers a risk.
Which is why Dr. Spence is encouraging women to get checked by their doctor as soon as they notice abnormality in their breast.
Any lump that you feel in your breast, whether you're 21 or 71, get it checked out, because if it's early, that's when we can really take care of you and get rid of it. If you sit there and watch it, and it's cancer, then that's when the problem starts. So most lumps in the breast are not cancer. I think it's important to say that. But we can never tell until a little piece of that lump has been taken out, or the whole lump itself has been taken out and looked at in the lab, and then we know what we're dealing with.
With your health report, I'm Shamela Mitchell, wishing you good health. Health Report is brought to you by
Good Care OptiPro 3 has the quality and quantity of proteins to help your baby build a strong foundation for future health.
A reminder that our current affairs program, All Angles, is at 8:30 this evening, and Dion Jackson Miller is here with a preview. Dion?
Thank you so very much, Doreen. Well, we are going back to the very important issue of the Cornwall Regional Hospital this evening. We're going to be talking to stakeholders, getting their views on what the current situation is and asking that all-important question: how do we move forward on this issue? That's All Angles, looking again at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, coming up at 8:30, right after Primetime News. Right now, it's back to you.
Thank you, Dion. And we now go to Archie at the smart board for those social media comments. Archie?
Thank you, Doreen. Here's our question this evening asking, should the government compensate persons who were made sick by the noxious fumes at Cornwall Regional Hospital? We're asking you to explain why or why not. This person says, well, yes, that would be a major ease to the persons that were affected, and it's the government's fault that they got sick in the first place. This person says, absolutely, the government knew about the noxious fumes years ago and failed to take appropriate action to fix the problem. Government failed to spend taxpayers' money on real issues affecting everyday Jamaicans. And our third comment and final for this section is, of course, it's a government-run hospital, unless they want people to sue, which would be such a shame. Keep your comments coming on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/Television Jamaica, and your tweets to @Herman
Green. Consumers will have to dig deeper to pay for fuel this week. That as Petrojam has hiked the price of a litre of gasoline by $1.48. The increase pushed the price of the fuel to the highest it has been in 3.5 years. The price of regular diesel is also up, rising by $1.84, while low sulfur diesel has gone up by $1.90. Now, kerosene is up $3.37. Propane cooking gas will cost $1.59 more. Butane is up by the same amount. In the meantime, the price of oil climbed Wednesday to settle at its highest in 40 months. Oil for delivery in May rallied by $1.95 or 3% to settle at $68.47 a barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange. That was the highest finish for the front month contract since December 1, 2014. Currency trading ended with the US dollar selling for $125.45. The Canadian dollar is selling for $99.53. The pound sterling costs $177.60, while the euro sells for $158.54. The JSE index gained more than 2,285 points, while the junior market index gained 11. Stocks posting gains included AMG Packaging and Paper, Carreras, Grace Kennedy, Jamaican Teas, Kingston Wharves, Lasco Manufacturing, Proven Investments, and Wysinco Group. On the losing end were C2W Music, Siboney Group, Jamaica Broilers, Palace Amusement, Sagicor Group, and Stationery and Office Supplies. And that's the Business Day. I'm Herman Green. Good evening.
The Business Day on Wednesday brought to you by...
I went into Sagicor Bank and I got the assistant from the bank.